Hello everyone, my name is Sina. I'm a postdoc with Mehdizadeh Sina University, Vancouver, and today I'm going to talk about reinforcement learning of energy optimal working. So by now we all know that we minimize our energy during our normal working, but we also minimize our energy when adapting to new working scenarios. For example, in this case, when we wear some exhausts that shift our energy optimal working to the left or right, we also can adapt to this and find this new energy optimal working. So our question is, how does the nervous system find this new energy optimal working? Basically, we want to know how the nervous system goes from here to there. And our approach is reinforcement learning. So for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to talk about normal working, so there is no different working. We have a walker, I will talk about it a bit later. And for this walker, it's the simplest walker. We know the energy landscape, we know the energy at each combination of speed and step length, speed optimization, we can calculate this. And we can see two examples of walking in different points of this energy landscape. The walker doesn't know this landscape, it's just for our purpose, so that we know where we are. And we want to know if we start the walker from a non-optimal walking, can the walker find the optimal value of energy in terms of step length and speed and energy. Okay, our walker is the simplest walker. Thanks to Arco and his team, we know this walker from their yesterday talk. It's powered by push-off and hip spring. We adjust these two once per step, and we calculate the energy. This is the reward or cost in our reinforcement learning model. It's the work of push-off, hip spring, and a penalty for slow speed, so that we can get a non-zero speed optimal working. We can add a feedback controller. The feedback controller takes the states, which are step lengths and the speed, and adjust the push-up and hip spring based on the nominal values of states and actions. For the learning, we approximate the current total cost with J and with parameters W. We predict the next state cost with the current policy. We calculate this error between the two and also the gradient. And we update the parameters of the our cost function, and we repeat this process until we find the new energy, the final energy optimal one. So this is the diagram that of what I just said. The reinforcement learner evaluates the energy and outputs the actions. The walker takes the action and feedbacks the reward as states and action to the reinforcement learner, and we repeat the process until we find the optimal walking. But this is not the only approach we can take. We can add a feedback controller. We call the first one flat and the second one hierarchical. This time the reinforcement learner doesn't learn the action, it learns the nominal values of the feedback controller, and the feedback controller picks the action for the next step. We also can add policy gradient, but that's not for now. For today I'm going to show the results of the conversions of these two algorithms, the convergence time scale, and the dependence on the initial state. So basically our problem is like this. We start from there with these values of energy and the step length and speed, and we know the optimal values are this one. We want to know if the walker can find these optimal values. What we found is that in terms of convergence, both value-based algorithms that I showed you can find the final energy near optimal solution. As you can see, the step length is almost there, but not the speed. And we think this is because of the function approximation. But what about the time scale or speed? We chose a random value for learning rate of 0.02, and found that the hierarchical one, which is the light blue one, converged a bit faster, about 800 steps compared to 1,000 steps for the flat one. What about we increase the learning rate to 0.5? No convergence. Both models fall down. Model falls down in both algorithms. And so there must be an optimal value for alpha or learning rate. We found the alpha for both algorithms and found that alpha for the flat one is higher, and it converges faster, almost five times faster than the hierarchical one. This is. And what about initial state? So we started from this one. So what about we start with any other point in this landscape? So this is the original one. We started from this one, high speed, highest of length. It converged again, the same, almost the same step length, but not speed. We started from here, 0.5 and 0.5, again, step length, but not speed. From here, the model fell down. So, does learning depend on initial state? Probably not. We can discuss about that why. Summary, reinforcement learning can explain gait adaptations with feedback controller, may slow convergence. We are not sure about this. It depends on many things. Learning may not depend on initial state, as we saw. Some technical observation, factor approximation is extremely important. It basically determines if your model converges and converges to what value. Learning clip screening and speed was the most difficult part, as you saw. Feedback is important. We use LQR. It's tricky. It depends on your state values, and we can also optimize our gains. NSFT error, which is used in original reinforcement learning, may not be helpful here. We can discuss why. And again, function approximation is extremely important based on our experience. Future direction, trying policy gradient, different adaptations are used. That number working like a split treadmill, walking is the learning generalizable. As our coach said yesterday, any too good model is brittle. So if our model is good in one condition, can be generalized to other conditions as well. We want also to use more realistic model. And finally, if we find a good model, we want to accelerate adaptation. I probably don't have time for this. We can discuss later. Thank you. And by the way, Max said hi to you all. And while we are discussing, you can see, I guess, if I can. Oh yeah. The convergence, the last minute video that I created. I mean, literally last minute, 10 minutes ago.
I think I'm not sure to understand why, if you know the landscape of your optimization, why do you do optimization? And also what function approximation do you use actually?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but the energy landscape is for us. Just
the thing is, if you know the optimal solution, so yeah, why not use it, or why do you pretend not to know about it?
Because we think that optimization is not biological. We want to find a biological equivalent to optimization, and we can discuss why it's not biological. And what does this say?
What function approach?
Classical linear function approximation. Okay. Features, and building as feature is very important. That's why sometimes it doesn't work.
Can I fill in some context? I think the general observation is that you build an exoskeleton or some device for the person, and then they have to learn how to use it. And then there's some concern about whether it is possible for humans to learn it. And so you want to have some idea of their capacity or approaches to do it.
Thank you.
What kind of loss mechanisms do you consider in the model?
Loss,
yeah,
you mean loss function?
Yeah.
Our reward function was the cost.
The mechanical losses. So
if the model falls down. So sometimes it falls down forward, sometimes backward, depending on the value of this skip torque and the push-off. So it doesn't converge to the final value that we want.
I think, Flo, you mean if you have any energy losses or in your model, or if it's a loss-free conservative model, or if you have any loss functions like friction or whatever?
No friction.
I'm just wondering, do you think that this learning on this simple model actually represents human learning, which is a lot more complicated process and a lot more complicated dynamics? And how can you then validate, if you do an experiment, how will you validate this model as a tool to understand your experiment?
To be honest, the short answer is I don't know yet. But we have seen that this simple model can answer many questions about human learning. So probably we can answer some questions today.
So I'm a sucker for optimization of simple models. I love it. Now you said I'm certainly sympathetic to people saying, if we don't optimize, that's not maybe not biological. I get it. Reinforcement learning, that's optimization, right? That's optimal policy. So are you trying to just draw a distinction between trajectory optimization versus policy optimization, or maybe dig in a little bit more on that?
Yeah, as you said, reinforcement learning, we think is optimization, but it's a more biological optimization, because during the optimization, we may sometimes go beyond our constraints to find the optimal solution. In mathematical optimization.
In mathematical optimization, like, we have these iterations, and I'll tell you, they're not obeying constraints
Yeah, so-
for a long time too.
So, but during the normal adaptations in human walking, we are within the constraints of
Of physics.
Yeah.
Of physics, right?
Yeah.
So, but that would be a single shooting optimization. Single shooting optimizations, they're within the constraints of physics. They tend to fall on their face for a while. I know, I'm just sort of like probing what you mean by it,
Yeah.
pointedly.
Maybe we should discuss.
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss.
So, if I understood correctly, you let the policy learn how to get to the optimal point, which was a specific speed for the energy cost. Do you think you can reuse some of this or some of the policy you learned to drive to a desired speed?
I think that is related to the being generalizable. Probably not at this stage, because we tried this learn policy for other points on the landscape, it didn't work. So probably it's not generalizable yet. We should try different points on the landscape and have some average value or maybe interpolation of the values between those points, and the scenario will work.
So we should switch to the next part.